Tim Liu. I'm an Executive Director at Foolproof, and welcome to our very first, I don't know what you call this, is it a video podcast? It's an interview series with a bit of a twist where we'll be talking to leaders and experts in design whilst cooking a meal and maybe drinking some wine if we can find some in the fridge. So it's my first guest in this series is Magda Lechowicz. Hello, Magda.
Hi, everyone.
Magda leads our service design practice at Foolproof, and it's a practice and a discipline and a way of thinking which is very hot right now. And so we thought it would be a really, really good idea to just get inside service design from Magda's perspective and talk about what she's seeing in the world of design and business. So welcome, Magda. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Glad to be here, but I forgot the wine. So unfortunately,
okay.
no wine in the fridge to cook or to sip. So I'll have to give that a pass.
Okay, well, if you indulge me, I'm just going to pour a little glass because it's the end of our days. So
go for it, Tim. You deserve it.
Oh my goodness, that is good. So, and the other thing that we do is we prepare a meal. So today we're going to make chickpea pasta, and so it's a meal that you can cook with store-cupboard ingredients, and it takes about 30 minutes, which is perfect for an interview like this. So, Magda, how about we get started? The first thing we do is get a pot going with some water, because we're going to boil it up while we're talking. But while you're doing that, can you tell me what service design is, what it means to you?
So that's interesting because today I was writing a job description for a principal service designer, which was fascinating because I was basically writing my own job description. And I think in big projects and kind of big transformation programs of work, I see service design as almost like a complementary philosophy to how you can change things and make things. So I know that probably gov.uk would disagree with me, and there are so many different, sometimes conflicting opinions and definitions of service design, but service design by Magda is what you're getting today. And it's, in my mind, it's about starting and representing and trying to understand and working from the user perspective. So something that I've been thinking about today is contrasting it not with a UX designer, but with a business analyst, and how the latter would kind of, in my mind, represent, I guess, the business and the technical and the operational perspective, whereas service design imagines what can be possible, tries to understand user needs and goals, and almost like imagines the ideal scenario. So I feel like it's more future focused, and it thinks about what could be rather than tries to fix what is and optimize what is. And like I said, it starts with the user and its goals. And it also looks at, I guess, the depth of the service provision. So it acknowledges that you can't really create something by just looking at one piece of the organizational puzzle. So it looks at understanding all of the elements that have to come into place for someone to hear that a service is available, find out about it, through to, you know, deciding and using it, and then engaging with the brand and the organization throughout their life cycle. So I guess it's quite deep and quite broad at the same time. And I think service designers can play a role.
It's a big challenge in terms of people getting their head around it, or kind of even trying to define it as.
Yeah.
It's sort of massive and squishy.
Yeah.
And all stuff. I mean, I think by the way, Magda, make sure you salt your water because we need to use the pasta water in our dish. So it needs a bit of salt in there. It's always good practice anyway when you're boiling pasta, isn't it? But you want that to have a little bit of.
And do you always start by cooking actually boiling the water rather than putting on the kettle and having the water boil? That's what I do. That's my cheat. But I'm not doing that today. Today I'm boiling the water from
Well,
scratch.
I guess the reason I like this recipe, it's about having a few things going at once, and you can have that coming up to a boil while you're preparing your other things.
Yeah. Okay.
So get that going, and then
the
next thing we'll need to do is just crush some garlic.
Yeah.
You just
I
smash
started
that
doing
with
that.
the blade of a knife and crack open your chickpeas, and then we can get that going in the pan. I mean, how did you get into service design, if you don't mind asking?
So I started my professional career at an innovation agency. And so I guess that was my introduction into human-centered design used in order to conjure new ideas. And I think the scope of the work that we did would often end at a conceptual stage where we would imagine what's possible, but never really go deeper than that.
Which is
where
a lot of innovation agencies sort of stop short, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think service design, is a more realistic and a slightly better approach to creating new things or changing things, because it leverages the same approach to inspiration and understanding what's possible, but also balances it out with how do you actually orchestrate the delivery of it. And it means that you can, not dream and get excited about something that is just not feasible for the organization to deliver, because that kind of leaves a bit of a sour taste in your mouth. But it also looks at leveraging what is already there, because often organizations have very valuable assets, amazing infrastructures, set up, that they have departments that are doing great work that are set up, and picking up on what's great and kind of just mixing it up in a different way to create a better thing is quite powerful if you get to it.
I mean, I think a lot of organizations we work with, Magda, are quite big enterprises, and you often sense their envy at smaller companies that can be more nimble and can spin up things quickly. But they also have unfair advantages in other ways, like you said, in terms of access to customers and, brand and, other capabilities that are actually really, really valuable when you're trying to create new products.
Exactly. Talent often, right? Like you already have access to people. But that's the tricky thing, that you kind of have to, that's why stakeholder engagement, I think, is a very important element of the role, because you're trying to, I always feel like I'm a bit of a manipulator, where I'm trying to understand all of the people involved, what's going on for them, what makes them tick, what are they after, and looking for that sweet spot of like kind of what's possible and feasible. Because that's another problem that I think a lot of innovation agencies face, is when they go off and do their thing and come back and say, ta-da, now you do this. And there's a problem, because like, who does it? How does it fit into all the other things that we're doing? Like it's great, but it just doesn't.
It's got to be backed up with an operational model and a tech stack and all these sort of things that make businesses real, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Magda, the other thing I've got going now is I've got my other pan going with my sort of smashed up garlic and rosemary, just to get the oil a bit flavored.
Okay.
And then I'm going to crack open a tin of chickpeas.
How many tablespoons of oil are we using?
A
glug.
I've eyeballed that. So okay. I would say just enough to coat everything, coat the bottom of the pan.
Okay. And
then the other thing to do, I'll drain my chickpeas. You don't need any of the liquid from this, actually. Unless you want to save it. They say you can use it as an egg substitute, can't you? But,
yeah. I always think that's a great idea, but never end up actually saving it.
one of my friends, her daughter's got a lot of allergies. In fact, my
Hmm.
daughter's got a lot of allergies too. And she made these meringues using chickpea liquid, and they were amazing. I was very impressed.
Oh yeah.
So the thing we're trying to do with the chickpeas is to give them a bit of a crunchy coating, really. So just let that fry for a bit.
You got the chickpeas in? Okay.
I've
Yeah.
just chucked everything out. But, you might find that your water might be sort of close to boiling too. So
Yeah. So on that front,
that's okay.
it was on a really low flame.
We've got
Playing catch up with the water.
So if you get your chickpeas on, I mean, I'm sort of interested. You mentioned, I think there's a sort of adjacent or maybe sort of parallel universe version of service line, which is business analysis.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how do you see those worlds in terms of, does one replace the other? Are they both sort of valid?
No, it's all about the collaboration. I think that's so. I feel like in reality, probably most businesses will choose one over the other, or they'll skew towards one because I guess maybe in that aspect, they represent two different philosophies of how do you go about creating change. And if a leader is very kind of business oriented and wants to see numbers and numbers bring him comfort, him, her, them. Jesus, can't believe I said that. Then maybe, the business analysis school of thought plays a more pronounced role. Because I think the starting point is different between the two. So in my mind, a business analyst will look at what the business wants, what the business needs, what the business is currently doing, and kind of looks at optimizing that and figuring out how that could be better. And service design will look at what the user wants and what the user goals are, and assumes that, I guess, by doing that and by meeting the right goals, money will come. And you can't have one or the other, right? Because you can't just go about satisfying every single need without making any money. So I think it's like a partnership, and it should go hand in hand. But I think both can kind of influence and impact the strategy of a transformation program, or of how a business go about creating new products or services. I haven't really seen good examples of them like ripping off each other and going hand in hand. I feel like there's always an imbalance. So yeah, in my ideal world, you'd have both.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and certainly within our own team, we have some of our best designers have come from sort of being a BA or a BA background, actually. And kind of, you can see why the combination of the two sets of skills or perspective can be so helpful and important. I guess in terms of what you're seeing in how service design is being understood and used, like, are there sort of trends that you can talk about?
And how services are being designed by businesses.
Yeah, I think like one example, I think within our own business, we have a client who has had this sort of realization within their digital team that the next step that they need to make is really in terms of this omni-channel world. And their way into it has been service design. And I'm sort of interested to know, I guess, what are your perspectives on things like that?
So I think, having an omni-channel strategy in general is probably going to bring you closer to the service design mindset, because I guess to me that signals that you're accounting for the fact that that channels are not, they don't live in silos, and how they're used, and how people interact and move from channel to channel needs to be understood by the business to really offer people something that is useful. I mean, you have businesses that kind of rely on, or you have services that rely on a single channel. Not all businesses will need an omni-channel strategy, but for the big complex organizations we're talking about, that will always be needed. And I think that's when it's interesting to understand the role and the time and what that channel needs to provide when and to whom, rather than just sit there as okay, we have an app for the sake of having an app, but there's no, because all of our competitors have an app, because people have smartphones. Like, they're not good enough reasons and rationales. And I think that's how businesses lose money. So understanding how all things tie together, and actually being able to, and I think that, I mean, consultants can do, or agencies can do only so much. I think it depends on internal structures and how well, whether there is a forum for channel leads to even discuss these things so yeah, I think, I mean, one of the things a service designer might do is create that forum. You know, that would be a new process and a new I guess intervention internally for those teams to actually be able to communicate, you know, share strategies with each other. Sometimes even that's completely disjointed, right? Where
just sort of finding
there's no visibility.
It's one of these. Hey, so I don't know where you're at, but so when your chickpeas are a little bit browned or crispy, remove about a third of them into a bowl.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to sort of smash the remainder that are in the pan into a bit of a paste.
So I'm leaving more of them in the pan or in the bowl?
That's right, yeah. You probably take out about a third and leave 2/3 in the pan.
Okay, got it.
And then you sort of need to deglaze the pan a little bit. Now you can use a little bit of your salted water that's boiling for your pasta. Hopefully it's boiling now. Is it boiling?
It is, yep.
Okay, cool. Let's get this a little bit on the go. So you can turn your pan down a little bit with your chickpeas, smash them up a bit. Essentially, you sort of want to turn it into a bit more of a sauce. We're turning the remaining chickpeas in the pan into a sauce. Yeah.
Nice. What's the origin of this recipe? Where did you come up with it?
It's I must admit, I saw it on YouTube, and it was sort of in the height of the lockdown, where people were looking for recipes for store-covered ingredients, and I thought, wow, that's actually, it looks really good. And actually, when my wife and I made it, it was absolutely delicious. So it's become a bit of a regular in our house, actually.
Nice. Is your pasta in, by the way? Are you boiling your pasta?
No, I'm going to put mine in now, actually, because it takes a little bit of time to get that going. Okay. So how did you I guess, where did you learn to be a service designer, and I guess how does your learning continue?
So I must admit, I don't have a formal qualification in service design.
Sorry, what a lot of us in design, Magda.
Yeah, I guess it's a good question. I think because I see it more as a mindset and a kind of working philosophy, or kind of a philosophy for change. Like, how do you want to go about setting a vision and creating something? Like, do you want to create something because you can? Do you want to create something because it's useful and you can do it? Do you want to improve things by like joining the dots, or do you want to improve things by chopping things up even further? So I think it's just, as I worked with different clients, agency side, I've just seen different manifestations of how things don't work. And I guess I just like arrived at my own conclusions. And then I don't know how many years ago, I realized that, there are other people like me. They share a similar mindset. You know, there's a book about it. There's a whole school of thought about it. And it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it has been an industry for decades, but it has become more of a, I guess, sought after role, an appreciated role in businesses recently. So yeah, it kind of all fell into place gradually. There wasn't a strategic decision I made to become a service designer. It's just a place where I feel comfortable, I think.
That's an amazing feeling when that sort of finally happens in your career, I think. And that's very much how I felt about UX when I first came across, I guess, it as a discipline and a practice. It was the sort of finally found something that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And sort of explained a lot of things in my sort of working history in sort of marketing and technology and sort of consulting. I did. Excuse me. I mean, part of the reason why I think service design has become important to some of our clients, Magda, and I'm sort of interested to get is this idea of complexity. You know, actually,
yes.
What digital is doing, it's making it too easy to spin up loads and loads of touch points and products and service interactions. And so it's this proliferation idea which is creating a need to manage complexity. I guess how do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, if you think about understanding and serving your customers well and making money off the back of that, if you think about something as small scale as an ice cream van, like you don't need a process, a roadmap, a spreadsheet. You don't need any, like, you know, someone who cares will do it intuitively, right?
You need a North Star vision and roadmap, Magda.
Yeah. So I feel like, you know, that one person in a van will intuitively, they'll understand more or less, you know, what kind of profit maybe they want to make, how to treat customers, which ice cream sell, et cetera, like which route to take to get, you know, the biggest margins and the biggest turnover on a Wednesday. But they're a team of one. So I guess they're in control of it all. And provided that they're intelligent and intuitive, they can kind of get away with it. Whereas the larger an organization is, the more difficult that becomes, right? Because if there's no one who keeps an eye and like keeps an eye on like the bigger picture and joins the dots, then it's very difficult to maintain that kind of streamlined level of quality and understanding of what works and being so close to customers. And you know, you could argue that it's the CEO's role, like they're on top, like they should have visibility over the whole big machine, but you know, that's not the case, and that's often not their role. So I think that's where service design comes in and says, oh, I can actually fulfill that role and play that role and join the dots for you, which, yeah, for complex organizations is probably invaluable.
How are your chickpeas, Magda?
Almost, basically. Can I have a sneak peek?
Do
you have a lot of water?
No, it's a bit, can you see that? It's sort of it's sort of bashed up. We're going to add a little bit more liquid anyway from the pasta water.
Okay. Mine are looking good then.
I would normally probably grate in a bit of lemon zest as well.
Okay, can do that.
I think it sort of brightens it up a bit. And then probably if you cut your lemon, we'll probably put half the lemon juice, the juice of half the lemon in. I better check my pasta. Yeah, I think that idea about the lemonade stand or the person with a little shop it is sort of it's very telling, isn't it? Because it is about the sort of the people who make decisions, their ability to see end to end around
Yes.
who their customer is and actually what their whole experience is like.
Mm-hmm. They have
And then the sort
control
of
over it.
that's right. And then the distance between decision making and the front line of actually where the customer hits the service, isn't it? And I think to your point, it's not just complexity, is it? It's sort of this sort of how can you make an organisation make good decisions or good trade-offs, you know,
Yeah.
when it's so complex.
Yeah. And I think it's just that recognition that that's someone's role, right? Like, let's
Right.
not put pressure on heads of departments who have their own goals to meet and, you know, they're responsible for their bit. Let's just make sure that they have the space and or a person or another team that is able to stay on top of what's happening and you know, triangulate what's needed, because I think that's the challenge when it becomes, oh, everyone will do a bit of that, like it's an everyone's responsibility to make sure that everything joins up, but it's impossible. It's like, how would you make a movie that way if, you know, just had lots of people responsible for shooting different scenes? Like, you need a director to pull it together, right, and make sure that the end result actually makes sense. And I think it's control. Yeah, when thinking about that lemon stand ice cream van, I think in that situation, that person is in control of all of those decisions, so they can push and pull and change and shift. In big organizations, that's a lot more difficult. You know, someone over here notices that it would be better to do ABC, but actually it's only that person over there who can make that change. And because you don't have channels of communication, or, you know, it takes forever to get something through, things don't happen. So a service designer's role would be to kind of stay on top of that and, in a way, I don't want to use the word dictate, but encourage people to move into the same direction, which is to help users and customers meet their goals.
Right, I think this is where it all comes together now, Magda. So my pasta is sort of almost done. So you can stop it.
Same here.
Yep.
What pasta have you got?
Oh, so I use a pasta, which is quite small. Here we go. It's like a little shell. I'm not going to even try and pronounce that. My Italian's not very good. Does that work? Can you see that?
Yeah, nice.
But it's about the same size as chickpea, broadly speaking. And it sort of works really well. So basically what I do now is just ladle across.
Yeah, and we're saving the water, right? I'm not draining.
Save a little bit, but if you, I use a sort of one of these spoons with a bit of a hole in it. But what you get is a bit of the water comes across as you bring that across. So, or you could use a colander, but just save a bit of the water.
Yeah, no, I've got one of those spoons with a hole. Finally, it's come in handy.
Okay. Turn that on a little bit.
Is this what your family's actually having for dinner tonight, or is this your lunch for tomorrow?
My kids are a little bit fussy, so they probably, but actually, Jennifer and I will definitely be having this for dinner because it's so delicious. Now you shouldn't have to season it too much because the water should have a fair bit of salt in it. But what you're really trying to do at this point is just coat everything with your chickpea bashed up sauce, essentially.
Yep, I might have gotten my proportions wrong. There's more pasta than chickpeas, or is that what we're going for?
Well, then what you do? Yeah, I haven't transferred all my pasta across simply because I made too much too. I'm not.
Go back, go
Be
back.
a way. I mean, design needs to sort out how they cook the perfect amount of pasta so you don't have a lot of leftovers.
Yeah.
And then it's plating up. I'm pretty.
Wait, but I'm missing the chili.
Oh,
Or does that come on top
you can
at the end?
you can probably add that in and then just sort of just stir it in a bit. I think you'll be good with that.
And Tim, the crucial ingredient that I was so worried about, rosemary. that goes as the final piece, right?
Oh, Magda.
Whoa.
Tell you. So basically, I put my rosemary in right at the beginning.
No.
It's okay. It's okay. Do you like rosemary?
I do.
I think it'll be satisfying even with that.
Okay.
I think we've missed the boat, unfortunately.
If I put rosemary in now, it will ruin it. But it needs to be fried.
Yeah, the only way maybe to pull it back is if you could fry it in a little bit of oil just to get it, and then sort of drip. You sort of wanted to infuse everything with it, but it might be a little late now.
Forget it.
And so then basically you serve it up. And then the chickpeas that you saved, you can basically use these as a bit of garnish on top.
Dress the plate. Lovely. This is super easy.
I tell you what, it's become a bit of a staple in the Lou house, actually. It's been pretty good. So let me just see.
Put some cracked pepper on top.
I fully support that. I do. Let me just my plate a bit here.
And I need a lemon segment, right?
Well, now you're getting really fancy.
Oh no. Did we add the lemon juice? Did I miss that part as well?
I forgot to, but you could probably just give it a little squeeze of lemon on top.
Yeah.
Brighten it up a little bit. But you should end up with something a little bit like that.
Almost.
That's
Very
not
close.
bad, mate. That's not bad. Obviously you're missing the green because we forgot.
I know, it's very beige food, Tim. Thank you.
So what next? What next for service design? Where do we go from here?
I think in my it's really nice. I mean, I'd want to see it recognized as a valuable role that is just not questioned and not a nice to have on certain types of projects. It's just like, if your organization is complex, if you buy into customer centricity and you believe that your business is there to fulfill customer goals, because I mean, not all businesses want that, and I'm completely cool with that. But if you do, then having a service design division team is only going to benefit you and help you get there. And it's not just about making things better for the customer. It's about improving efficiencies internally, often boosting the morale of internal teams, because all of a sudden they're like, wow, got this common goal. We're working together. It all makes sense. So yeah, I think there's lots in it. And I've also, we talked about kind of big complex organizations, but I know that a lot of scale ups and kind of smaller businesses are already pinching service designers into their in-house teams as they grow and launch more products and services. I guess they understand that in order to do that well, a service design function is invaluable, because they'll help that growth make sense from a customer's perspective. So So I think that's something that's quite interesting, and I'm keenly observing. I think, yeah, there's a role in helping companies grow in a more sustainable and scalable way, because again, there's an underpinning philosophy, which is customers and their goals, that helps drive that.
All right, to the future. Well, I think we're probably out of time now. I think we've got a volleyball game to get to.
Yeah. So maybe I'll leave this for later, actually. I've tried it, it's really good. 5 out of 5. And I'll have it after I actually move a bit, leave the house and do something.
Well, anyway, thanks so much for giving us some time and sharing your thoughts and thinking, Magda. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it too. Thanks very much.
Pleasure. It was fun. See you around.
Magda Lechowicz. Oh, hang on. This will take 40 minutes. Lechowicz.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Got it.